UFS, we're here for you.
The Sturt Street UFS Pharmacy is now open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, including public holidays. We even have a nurse available every night from 6 until 10 to help with minor ailments. 24/7, 365 healthcare now available at the Sturt Street UFS Pharmacy.
We're here for you.
Proud sponsor of Voice FM.
Hello, it's Lynden back again. For some reason, folks, Pauline and I are having trouble playing our theme music.
Yes, it's being a bit elusive. I think what's going on is that the studio knows that we're on the move and waiting for us to... We might even announce a new intro song soon, I reckon.
We might.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So that'll be exciting for everyone to think about.
Thank you very much to Charles EQ, whom we've been very loyal to for nearly five years here on the Arts Program. So sorry, folks, about that. You're listening to the Arts Program, and it's me, Lynden, Nichols, and Pod was that wonderful voice.
I'm here, yeah.
There's Pod. And our first guest is Mieke Boynton. Hello, Mieke.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, good afternoon or evening or something. And Mieke, you've travelled here all the way from Wright.
I have. It was a rather long trek in that wind that you were just speaking
yes.
about.
Yeah.
It is a bit further than you think from Wright, because I've done that journey myself.
Especially if Mrs. Google takes you the hill way.
Hill way?
Yes. I
Where
went
in
through Bacchus Marsh and that
Oh,
yes.
goodness
And I've got
me.
an old Toyota Land Cruiser and it struggled a little with
Oh,
those
yes.
big
Through
hills.
Bacchus
Some of those
Marsh.
hills are pretty tricky.
Yeah. Well, welcome.
Thank you. It's a pleasure
we're-
to be here. Thank you.
Yes, because I know that you've come a bit early, especially to be on our show. So, Pod, we're honoured.
We are. We're very grateful to you, yes.
And Mieke is a photographer, and her gorgeous exhibition, which was called...
One year.
No, the other one.
Oh, Skyview.
Skyview. Her gorgeous exhibition, Skyview, was part of the Ballarat International Photo Biennale.
You spoke about it a lot, Lynden.
I did, at Fairbanks. And it was so successful that Mieke has been invited back to Fairbanks for 1 year. Well, not for one. For her new exhibition called 1 Year. Now, tell us a little bit about these works, Mieke.
Well, I have to backtrack a little.
Yeah.
At the end of 2017, I'd been living in the Kimberley for 10 years and I decided to become a full-time photographer, and I drove all the way down the Western Australian coast and then across the bottom end of Australia, and I decided that for 1 year I was going to say yes to everything, because for many years previously I'd been working so hard that I had to say no to a lot of things. So last year, during the year, I said yes, and I ended up in Madagascar, Norway, Germany, Switzerland.
And Iceland.
Iceland was amazing.
I'd love to go to Iceland. Wow.
And I even went up to the Blue Mountains and explored a little of my new area, the northeast of Vic. So this is an exhibition of 26 photos from last year.
And when you say you said yes, like, did you have the idea, I'd love to go to Iceland, and you said yes to yourself, or did someone invite you?
Both.
Right.
So the Iceland trip was definitely something that I had planned with a friend for quite some time, because specifically for aerial photography, Iceland was. But then, for example, I got invited to judge in Germany a photographic salon, and I said yes to that. And I was invited to Norway to visit some friends, and I said yes to that. And then a friend was telling me that she was taking a group to Madagascar, so I said yes to that.
And was that a liberating experience?
Oh, it was amazing.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, I think because I had saved up quite a bit and I'd been working very hard, the ability to just be able to say yes was... I don't know that many people in their whole life get to have 1 year where they can do what
so
I
much
did.
travel. Yeah,
it was
exciting.
incredible.
Well, you're so busy saying yes to people, to things that you think you should do, as opposed to things that
you
just love to do. So how long have you been a photographer?
Well, I moved to the Kimberley for a teaching position in 2008.
As in teaching school?
Yes, I'd been teaching high school, but I took a year teaching grade 5 and 6, 14 Indigenous kids up in Wyndham.
Oh, right.
And I just fell in love with the landscape and picked up photography because I just wanted to show my family and friends how incredible it was, and then I caught the bug very badly.
Oh, wow! So you went up there specifically to teach, so you didn't have any sort of thought that you might be becoming a photographer.
Definitely
That's
not.
amazing.
Yeah.
And now look at you. Yeah, travelling all over the world and exhibiting and
Eating, breathing, sleeping,
being
dreaming,
in
photography.
the photo biennale and everything.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Now, the photos in the Photo Biennale and 3 images, I think, from this current show that's going to open on Friday, and we will talk about that, are what you've been calling aerial photography. Now, tell us how you do that.
So my specific brand of aerial photography is abstract aerial photography, and that requires me to go up in an aircraft, preferably a helicopter, but perhaps a Cessna. Some of the photos were taken in a light plane, and I charter it, and I go up and I tell the pilot what I want to do. I've usually done a bit of research on Google Earth before I go up there, and basically I take photographs of nature's art from the air.
So what made you start doing that? Like, how did you become like a on-the-ground teacher to then up in the air taking aerial photographs?
Well, after I caught the bug, I managed to go on a workshop in the East Kimberley, and a part of that workshop was an option to go up in a helicopter. And I had no idea what I was in for, but when I was up there, it's just stunning. And the Kimberley in particular.
I was going to say the Kimberley from the air, yeah.
Oh, amazing. Absolutely amazing. And like nothing I'd seen before. And I had no idea, you know, what but I just was in awe. And so living up in the Kimberley, I had more opportunities to do that, and I just decided to specialise in that because I just loved it so much.
So when you say, no, I'll start again. I realised that the photos from the Photo Biennale exhibition were abstract. And when you say looking down at the earth of the Kimberley was stunning, so is it shapes or colours or sense of history and ancientness, or what is it?
Not so much the aerials. The part of the reason I fell in love with photography in general was because I was in the Kimberley, and it was all exactly what you're talking about, the ancientness and the spirituality. But I think when you're up in a helicopter and all you can hear is the deafening noise of a chopper, and it's a little less spiritual. But it is equally incredible. And the places that we photographed tend to be places you can't get to on foot. So, for example, the mud flats, you know, they're on the way out to the ocean, and the extreme tidal difference means that no one can actually walk there because the mud would, you know, come up to your thighs in the wet season, for example.
And you seem to have a fascination with where the sea meets the land.
I do. Yeah. I just think it's that, nature creates its most beautiful and most colourful areas, I think, in that transition area, that intertidal. Yeah. It especially, you know, watching how the water drains out to the ocean. It's like a branch or a tree, or it can even be like capillaries or arteries, or it's just got that organic feeling to it.
Must have been so exciting to get home and put them up on your screen and go, oh my God, look at that.
Definitely.
You know?
But the other exciting thing too is that realisation that you love something so much, and that you have that really strong connection to not just the photography, but even the way that you're describing that tidal, the visuals of the tide, you know, between the tide and the earth. Like, you can see that you're really excited by that. It's a wonderful thing, isn't it?
It is. Actually, my previous life, I was a sportswoman, and getting up at 5:10 in the morning for rowing.
Swimmer.
I was a rower.
A rower.
You know, you do it.
Yeah.
But the difference is I'm doing that now out of joy. I wake up and I'm excited.
Yes, because some people don't realise, but photographers, if they're really serious, they're generally dawn and dusk people, aren't they?
Yes, and actually dawn is preferable because no one else is there. So I'll often get up at 3:30, 4 o'clock to go for a drive, to be there at sunrise.
Yes, I've got a colleague, a Ballarat person actually, Andrew Thomas, who's another fantastic photographer. And every morning, I think he does that, and evening. I think he might have a heart attack if you didn't do it, like he's so obsessed. So only 3 of the images are from our aerial ones in the news show. Tell us about those ones. There's one from Iceland?
Actually, all 3 are from Iceland. Because that trip was specifically to get aerials, and it would have been a travesty for me to leave them out.
Yes. And is Iceland a bit depressing? Like, were you aware of how it's melting really fast and things are changing for the people there?
Truthfully, September last year when we went, there was maybe a murmur of it with one of the pilots that we were talking about, but it certainly wasn't. It wasn't forefront, front and centre of the discussions that were happening. I think that happened after September with the melting.
Yeah.
The significance of it hit the news. But at the time, no, it was just that it was. It's constantly melting. Those glaciers, the braided rivers that you see, that is what I photograph. That's a constant process and has been for a very long time. But the rate at which it is melting is obviously accelerating.
And I think the amount of land, especially in summer, I suppose, covered with snow and ice is reducing, so all of that's, it's just a really changing environment, I think. Yeah. So you're lucky to have been there. So tell us about some of the other ones. What about Madagascar? What was that like?
I had wanted to go to Madagascar for a very long time. Living up in the Kimberley, I love the boab trees. And in Australia we do call them boab trees, but the baobab trees of Africa and Madagascar, they're related, but they're not actually the same.
Oh, okay.
But I'd heard about these 30-metre tall baobab trees, and when I'd first lived in the Kimberley, a friend showed me a photo of Baobab Alley, the alley of the baobabs, and I just couldn't believe that they were real. They were just gigantic.
Explain, I'm looking at a photo of some. Explain to the listeners on this non-visual medium what they look like.
So they have a very long, tall, shiny trunk. Like the bark of it is quite smooth and quite golden, and they reach far up into the sky, and then it's almost like, there are people who call them the upside down tree because it's almost like roots instead of branches at the top. The way that it branches out is quite flat. And
they only branch out at the top, don't they? Like
so there's
other
no
branches
on the way up.
Yeah.
And
they store water in the trunks, isn't that right?
Not quite. So I'm not sure about the... I understand in Madagascar people have created storage because they do collect water, but it doesn't go inside the trunk. But I've seen a program where they actually tapped it, so they created a little hole in there that could hold the water. In the Kimberley, Aboriginal people have long known that boabs can hold water in that area where the branches meet. And so they'd shimmy up there
right up to the top.
If necessary to get there. But our boabs in Australia are nowhere near 30 metres tall. Right. They actually tend to grow out rather than up.
Okay, so but they're the same family, are they?
Yes. Yes.
Look,
but they're related, yes.
Let's, before we find out about a few more of the images in the upcoming show, let's go to a little bit of music.
Sure. And have we talked about being in the helicopter and how you do all of that?
No, we haven't really. We got onto baobab trees.
I thought that might be interesting for listeners
and Iceland.
too.
But we will talk about that.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, I'm trying to choose a track. Let's just go to a short one. It's number 4 from Charlie Chan's album East and West. She's a Sydney woman. So 1, 2, 3, 4. It's called Harbour. That was Charlie Chan's beautiful music called Harbour. You're listening to Voice FM, and this is the Arts program with Pauline O'Shaughnessy, Dowling and me, Lynden.
Mm-hmm.
And we're talking to Mieke Boynton, who is a fantastic photographer, and one of the things she does is aerial photography. Now, Pod and I are fascinated with how come you don't fall out of the helicopter.
Yes,
So tell all the folks.
I've been told on maybe partially dubious authority, but I've been told that you can't actually fall out of a helicopter. You must either jump or the helicopter must crash for you to be ejected. So I feel quite safe when I'm flying.
Because you told us off air that the helicopter that you're in doesn't have doors.
No, we specifically take the doors off because the thing is, when you've got perspex or the reflections from, like, if you're wearing a stripy T-shirt, that actually reflects on the window that you're trying to shoot through, and it's almost impossible to fix that later on. So if you take the doors off, then you have no issue.
Take your doors off as opposed to your T-shirt.
Yes, that is a better option.
And so are you to get the photographs of what's down on the ground, I mean, are you sort of partially sort of hanging out the door a little bit?
I just
or do you
tell the pilot to do a nice big turn, so we go leaning down into it. Yeah, so that I can shoot straight down.
And you double check that your seatbelt's done up properly and all that kind of stuff. I'm quite fascinated by that,
Yeah, well, she's very brave, but Mieke, just off air, told us that she'd done bobsledding.
Yes.
Are your feet first or your head first?
Well, actually, it's in a little, well, not so little, but it's like a little rocket. So you're actually sitting. You're sitting facing forward. Yeah. And because I was the brakewoman, so I wasn't the pilot.
Right.
And basically, you run really fast, and that's
then you
your
jump
job,
in.
and then you jump in, and then you just hold on for dear life.
And did you do this in Australia?
Actually, that's a funny story because I trained in Australia, but we trained on a flat track, and we'd converted a bob. We'd removed the runners that go on the ice and instead put metal wheels that could go like on a tram track type setup. And we practiced the push and the jump in, but we'd never actually run on ice.
And have you ever done it on ice?
Yes.
And I bet you go faster.
Oh, very, very much faster, yes.
Was it scary?
Well, the first time was very scary. It was actually in America, in North America, in Lake Placid in New York. And they basically had me all kitted up with motorcycle protective gear and my helmet and even hip protection, because and then they told me where to hold on to, and then they just pushed. And the pilot obviously had done this many times before, but I'd never. And it was like, imagine a big removal van. And it's pitch black, you're in the back and you don't know which direction you're going to go in, and it's quite rattly. It was kind of like that because your head's down, you can't see anything.
And are you mainly in there as part, like you're partially
leaning?
Part of the weight of
the weight is important, but you don't lean, you just hold on really tight and try not to move.
And that's what you do.
The job of the brakewoman is actually the push at the beginning, because the faster you can get right at the top, obviously exponentially increases as you go down. And then the secondary job is once you cross the line, you have to put the brakes on. But you can't put the brakes on the track, or you get fined $10,000.
So where do you put the brakes on? Just after the line.
Yeah, there's just a little handle between your legs that you pull down, and it's got like teeth behind you, and you just the teeth hit the ice.
I'm sort of gaping, Pod. I don't think I'd do that.
It's awesome.
Yeah,
it sounds
in
quite
St.
thrilling.
Moritz, when we were competing, we got to 135 k's an hour.
Wow.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Well, back to photography.
Sorry, yes.
We diverted you. Well, I did. Tell us about some of the other images. There's one here, Reflections in Ulm. Tell us about that
this
one.
is an unusual one. It's not a landscape photograph. Primarily, these are landscape photographs. But when the fancy tickles me, I will do things that are not landscape. And this one in particular is actually a photo that I took upside down. Well, I wasn't upside down, but it was.
Well, it sounds like it could be. You can do anything. Yeah.
But there was a lady walking a dog over a bridge in Ulm, and the reflections in the water were so clear and very beautiful, and it looks like a painting. It actually really, it's almost impossible to believe that it's a photograph. And
even we're looking at the catalogue here, listeners. There's one called Love Lost that actually reminds me a bit of a Georgia O'Keeffe painting. I mean, it's a photograph of something.
Actually, I did a presentation this past weekend, and a lady also said I need to go and look at Georgia O'Keeffe.
Yeah.
She's the one who does the quite feminine,
big enlarged flowers.
Yes. So it does have a sense of that floral, very feminine.
Sort of organic shapes, but not unlike her work, I would say.
And I'm looking at one of a little cloud that's not very far off the green turf. Is that real?
It is real.
It looks like it's a real painting.
Real. It's one of my favourites. My mum calls it the cheeky little cloud, but I'd already named it floating. But I like the cheeky little cloud.
Yes.
That one's a good example of, photographers, you always need to have your camera with you, don't you, in case something like that happens. That's amazing, isn't it?
It is amazing. And within about 6 minutes, that beautifully formed heavy cloud that was just hovering over this perfectly shaped hill had disintegrated and was a very ordinary cloud.
So do you take your camera everywhere you go?
Not everywhere, because I need to leave it at home if I need to get jobs done, because if it's there it'll tempt me and I'll stop, but if I leave it at home then there's no temptation. So for this trip, for example, I didn't bring it because I'm down to business.
And are you still teaching at all, Mieke?
No, this is... I will be. Actually, that's a very good question, because I'm about to start running workshops and teaching people photography.
But you're not teaching the kids anymore? No.
I'm not.
No.
So teaching photography in Wright. You come from Wright?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which people is... how do you explain where Wright is?
Northeast Victoria.
That's it.
Yeah,
People,
on the way to the mountains.
You could take lots of pictures of tourists who are there at Easter.
I could.
You could.
Are you in Bright because of the landscape, or is it where you are actually from originally?
I did grow up there.
Yeah.
And it is a place that very much feels like home, and you can't pick that. It either is or it isn't. So I moved back to be closer to family, but definitely it was a consideration how beautiful it is, especially after living in the Kimberley. The Kimberley is stunning. Moving anywhere after that was going to be a big ask, and I truly think Northeast Victoria, the Alpine Valleys, is equally beautiful.
Just in a different way. Tell us when and where.
Yes, so I'm very
exhibition.
excited about this exhibition, which is at Fairbanks Eye Gallery, which is opposite the hospital on Sturt Street, 917A Sturt Street, and the opening is on Friday evening at 6 p.m. Very excited about this. I don't know if you've been to the gallery.
Yeah.
It's a wonderful gallery. It's a fantastic gallery, and it's a real honour to have my work there.
But it's a little bit hidden, folks. It's behind Fairbanks Eye Clinic place.
Yep.
It's in amongst a bunch of shops.
So when you go in and you see all of the spectacles,
yes,
you are
you're
in the right place.
Yes, you are.
Yes.
Absolutely right. So the opening is on Friday at 6 p.m. and then the exhibition will be open until December 7th. And the opening hours for Fairbanks Eye Gallery, which is also the optometry practice with some excellent frames if you want to get your eyes checked at the same time.
Yes.
It is open from Monday to Friday 9 till 5:30 and Saturdays 9 till 1.
And that's great, because sometimes galleries don't have such extended opening hours. So, and all these works are for sale.
They
Mieke?
are. And if you're lucky, Peter and Benjamin tend to enjoy finding out the history of each of the photos, and you may well get your own personal guided tour, but I can't promise you that. Because
well, good on Peter for his commitment to the arts in Ballarat,
Absolutely.
I say, and that wonderful gallery there. It's terrific.
And they have had over 200 exhibitions in that space, so
Yes.
it's a very significant investment into art in Ballarat.
It's a good place to keep checking what they've got on currently. Well, look, thank you so much, Mieke, for coming over a bit earlier.
It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you.
It's been fun talking to you.
Really exciting to hear about how you take your photographs as well. Love it.
And might see you on Friday night.
That would be wonderful. If you can come, that would be fantastic.
Okay, let's go to a couple of community announcements and then a little bit of music possibly before our next exciting guest. Thanks, Mieke. Bye-bye.
You know, we're different.
Well, you're a bit weird, but I think I'm pretty normal.
No, I mean, community radio is different. Here we are playing hardcore music. The other presenters do country, the All Aussie Music Hour, 70s and 80s, new releases.
Smooth music.
And more. There's local news and information. We even have a 13-year-old presenter doing their own show weekly.
Whoa, you're right. We are different. Community radio. It's different.
You might not hear it on air, but behind the scenes, Voice FM is making some very big changes. We have now got a new logo, and in the coming weeks, we will be moving to our new studios at Berkeley Square. Follow us on Facebook or check out voicefm.com.au to follow our journey. Or stay tuned, we'll keep you updated on 99.9 Voice FM.
If you have a disability and are looking for a job you'll love, call EGF Solutions, specialising in inclusive employment. Part of the G-Force Group with local offices in Ballarat and surrounds, EGF Solutions help people of all abilities discover talents, harness strengths and find rewarding long-term employment. Once you start work, you'll receive ongoing support. EGF helps with on-site training, skill development and confidence building. Chat to the team today at EGF Solutions. The job you'll love might already be waiting for you. egf.org.au.
EGF Solutions, a proud sponsor of Voice FM.
You're listening to the arts program on 99.9 Voice FM, and that was music, I think, that was used on as the introduction music for Australian Story on ABC. It's from an album by Charlie Chan called East and West, and that was track 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 called Strong. We have our second guest in the studio, and it's Jay Morrison from the Frolic Festival. Hello, Jay.
Hello.
And he's handed Pauline and I a very comprehensive program with rainbow colours.
We do love our rainbow colours.
They're gorgeous. And do the different colours stand for different things, different types of events?
They do, but don't put me on the spot and ask me what they stand for.
Oh, okay.
And Jay, I reckon last time, you were in the studio this time last year talking about the Frolic Festival, and was that logo quite new then as well, that Frolic Festival logo?
Yeah, so this one is a slightly updated version of the logo. But yeah, that logo has been the Frolic logo for a while, but we did slightly update it for the program.
Yeah.
And for
it's
going
becoming
forward.
quite well known as well, the Frolic logo.
Oh, I hope so.
Now, Jay, there's so much on, I sort of don't know where to start. You start us off.
Okay, so this year is the third year of the Frolic Festival, and we've doubled in size to last year, essentially. We have more than twice the number of events this year. We're still promoting, our focus is still on promoting regional and rural arts and culture. One thing that we do that's sort of one of the ethos of the festival, a little rule that we have for ourselves, is that 80% of the program is filled with local artists, and then we, bring in some Melbourne performers and artists as well. So there's so much going on. Tomorrow night is the opening night of our festival at the George Hotel. And it's not only the festival launch, but it's also our art show launch.
Fabulous. Before you go any further, for those people that might not be aware, just explain to them what the background to the Frolic Festival is. And
Good question. So a few years ago, a group of friends got together. I was not in this circle. I had not moved to Ballarat yet. It was about 4 years ago, I think. A group of friends got together who all identified on the LGBTI QA plus community, who went, one of the things in Ballarat is social social isolation is a real issue for the community, and they just wanted to get together, meet other people from the community, have a good time, and, you know, make some art and show some art and, you know, just get together and have a good time. So that group of friends decided to form a festival, essentially, and they had a couple of events which were a huge success, and then since then it's kind of kicked on.
And I think one of those events that has been a big success is the I just saw it before in the not the Cabaret, it's something else. Is it the Bush Dance?
The Bush Dance, yes, there is the Bush Dance.
Yeah, that's been pretty popular.
Yeah, that is very popular. Yeah. So for that one's on Friday night this year. And we have the Northcote String Band from Melbourne come up, and essentially what they do, because I've had a lot of questions about this and how does it work, and what happens is essentially you go along, you know, they play music and you can dance along, and then what they'll do is they'll say, right, everybody get into groups of 4 and they're going to teach you a little dance.
Oh, so like a
barn dance.
Yeah, that's
great.
Thing.
Yeah, and then so you learn steps for a couple of minutes, and then they play the song and you dance.
Yeah,
and it's a great way to meet new people as well, because you can come along. You don't have to know anyone, but you just meet people through the circle essentially. And then as the night goes on, I will tell you the dances get a little bit less complicated, I think, after people have had a couple of drinks.
Yeah. Very wise.
And then in the end, I think people just end up just dancing, you know, and having a good time.
So that one is on at Trades Hall this Friday night from 8 p.m. until late.
And do you get dressed up for that one?
Yeah, you do. So
wear your flannel.
Wear your flannel, your jeans, your boots.
Yes.
Come along, cowboy hat.
Cowboy hat.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And bring your dance moves, any of your country dance moves. I reckon you could do some line dancing at one of these.
You probably could. I think it's always good to have the group dances, though, I think, you know, get into the square and dance,
line dancing is a bit... You actually all stand in line and face the front.
Yeah.
So you don't... So it's not so social.
Well, yeah, I suppose so. But I can kind of see Nutbush City Limits as a bit like a great big line dance with lots of people.
Kind of is.
But yeah,
It's
you're
so
right. You are
uniquely
right.
Australian,
Yeah.
So what's happening at the launch?
So at the launch, we've got some special guests, including the Victorian Commissioner for Gender and Sexuality, Ro Allen, is coming to officially open the festival. We will also be having a welcome to country by one of the traditional owners, which will be fantastic. And just really we'll be checking out the art, and people will be able to vote on the art on the night.
So this is tomorrow night at the George Hotel in the Atrium.
Friday night.
No, it's tomorrow night.
Tomorrow night.
Yeah,
Thursday the 7th
the opening
of November. Festival launch and art show opening. So lots going on at the George tomorrow night.
Yeah.
And then tell us about the Wandering Circus. Are they tomorrow night
yes,
as well?
So they're after the launch, so you can easily come along to the launch, which is free, and then also just head to the circus straight after. So the Wandering Circus, this is a really big coup for us. They are a group of performers from all around the world. So there's some New Zealand performers, some Americans, some Australians, I understand. And they're actually doing an international tour at the moment, which is great. And they contacted us to say, we've heard about Frolic Festival and that they'd had a last-minute cancellation for the same weekend and said, we would love to come and perform at Frolic. And so we said, yep. That would be fantastic. They do sort of a little bit of like a circus cabaret. Kind of, it's a bit of a variety show.
So a bit of singing.
A little bit of singing, I think, some aerial sort of stuff.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Bit of gymnastic-y sort of...
Yeah, that kind of... thing. So that will be pretty neat, I think.
And it's quite a large group of people in this photograph here anyway. There's like, I don't know, 9 or 10 of them.
Yeah, there is quite a lot of them.
Well, that'll be great. And that's in the lounge.
Yes, so that's in the lounge
George.
at the George, which is right next to where we're having the opening.
Yeah.
So really easy to find. The opening is actually in the atrium, which is a new space that the George has opened up and that they're going to be hiring to local artists and things as well. And so we'll have, a ton of art in there. We'll do the opening, get sort of the official ceremony underway, and get to mingle and meet people. There'll be the prize for the art show opening, and then we'll announce that. And then I think the circus performers, some of them may come out amongst the crowd and maybe...
and sort of get people to come on in.
Yeah, get people to come on in.
So do you think people could turn up at the door and pay the money, or do they have to pre-book?
So it is cheaper if they pre-book. I believe. So it's, I'm trying to remember off the top of my head.
Oh, yes, it says $20 pre-sale, $25 on the door.
Yeah. So we'd
That's
encourage
for the wandering
people
circus.
we'd encourage people to pre-book if they can.
Yes.
But if not, just decide to come on the night, that's fine as well.
Sounds really fun.
Mm.
And then on Friday you've got fairies in the garden. Oh, I like that.
Yes. So we are... one of the things that's unique about our festival, I think, is that we do have these boutique-y sort of events that are very, sort of they interest different groups. And so I think the Ballarat Community Garden is hosting us there on the Friday, which is the public holiday, of course, and we'll be doing a workshop there on... I think it's unique plantings.
Oh, yes.
So people will do a workshop. We'll have some pizzas. It'll be great. People are bringing kids.
And I suppose, I suppose some people aren't, me being one of them really, I've decided by now, I'm not all that much of a party person. I can appreciate it.
Yep.
But I'm just, when I'm there, I sort of fade into the background. But something like going to the community garden would be a really fun thing. So
And
that's lovely to have that
we've
variety.
got another event on the Sunday, which is very similar, is a bushwalk. So we have the same traditional owner, Tammy, will be doing a Let's Walk Wadawurrung Country Together tour, which will be great for those people who, again, like you said, aren't interested necessarily in the party stuff, but are interested in learning about local history and local Indigenous history.
I'm just checking the weather. Unfortunately, folks, it's a possible shower, but it is the hottest day of the whole next few coming.
Yes.
So Sunday the 15th, Sunday the 10th will
I'd
be
say
15
wear
degrees.
a rain jacket.
Wear a rain jacket.
And maybe take an umbrella as well.
That makes it fun to be outside and in the bush.
Oh,
take your dog with you and go for a wander.
What's Let's Get Quizzical?
Let's Get Quizzical. Unfortunately, you've pulled the event that unfortunately we've had to postpone this year. It's actually my favourite event of the whole festival. But unfortunately, due to unforeseen circumstances, we've had to postpone that to early next year.
All right.
It's a trivia night.
As you were saying before, Jay, that you've got, is it twice as many events?
More than twice.
And you're
as
quite a
many
small
events.
committee.
We are a committee of 5.
I'm always in great admiration of anybody that's putting on such a week-long event. I mean, it's so much work, isn't it?
It is so much work, thankfully.
It's a great credit to you, I have to say.
Thank you. Thankfully, we're also supported by about 30 dedicated volunteers as well. One of the great things about our festival is that people... this year we've been focused on sort of growing that volunteer pool and people who maybe don't know anyone in the community coming along. We're super welcoming. We love to have people involved. And the volunteers this year have been absolutely outstanding, and they've been the whole backbone of this whole festival, to be honest. So while we're a committee of 5 and we're all volunteers, those volunteers have been fantastic.
You've got some good subcommittees happening.
Definitely.
And as you were saying, it is a great way to get to know the community and get to know, new people and see who's out there and I suppose learn how to sort of run events as well. So there's lots you can gain from being involved in something like this.
Definitely. And one of the things we've found is, just quickly, is that a lot of people who are volunteering with us have just recently moved to the area, don't know anyone, come along.
Yep.
meet a whole lot of people, have a lot of fun, organise a festival, and they're loving it.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah.
What's going on, Jay, at the Frolic Carnival Day on Saturday, I think?
Yes, that is Saturday from noon to 4 p.m. That is really sort of the key event of this year's festival, which is very exciting. We were very lucky to secure a grant from Bank Australia. Thank you, Bank Australia, the Ethical Bank. They will be... they've supported us to run this Carnival Day, and it's going to have stalls, it's going to have music, it's going to have a kids' corner of entertainment. We have Yana Alana, who is quite a famous cabaret performer from Melbourne, who will be coming up to perform, which is great. We have the local bands, the Vinleys, will be playing as well.
You have a Mexican barbecue?
Princesses. Yes.
Food trucks.
We have food trucks. We have a lot on
that's
Saturday.
Alfred Deakin Place.
That is at Alfred Deakin Place on Camp Street, which is very appropriate.
Sort of in the early afternoon, yes.
Yeah.
From 12 noon till 4.
Yes.
And that's all free. Just go there and frolic about.
Yeah, it's free. Frolic about. There's going to be about a dozen or so stalls as well, which will be really interesting. We do know, and we put something out on social media today, that the weather is going to be patchy on Saturday, but... we're from Ballarat.
Yeah, really. We're used to it.
Just put on your jacket.
Put on your jacket, bring an umbrella, bring a sense of adventure, and come along. We're actually we've hired some heaters, so we're going to have some heaters there for those people who are the whingers, maybe the people from out of town who aren't the Ballarat folk who are used to the cold.
Yeah, really.
And we're going to have some mulled wine as well.
Oh, perfect.
So,
there you go. Icing on cake.
$5 cups of mulled wine. You can't go wrong.
No.
And you can have a great time.
And just before you tell us about queer karaoke, I'm going to go just briefly to a City of Ballarat little promo about what to do with recycling your glass.
Fantastic.
Recycling in Ballarat is changing. Be one of the thousands of people in Ballarat who recycle the right way. No glass in recycling bins. To recycle your glass, take it to a free glass drop-off site across Ballarat at Alfred Square, Ballarat Greyhound Racing Club, Buninyong, Gillies Street Transfer Station, Lucas, Midvale Shopping Complex, Miners Rest General Store and Stockland Wendouree.
And Sunday afternoon, and if it's a little bit, maybe a little bit of rain around, perfect conditions for listening to jazz and drinking red wine, I reckon.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
100%.
And I notice here on Tuesday the 12th there's a tribute show to Shirley Bassey. Who's doing that?
Yeah, so Maureen Andrew is
Is she a local person?
Yes, she is. So she has lived in Daylesford for a long time. I'm not 100% sure whether she's still in Daylesford, but she does these one-woman shows as part of Chill Out Festival and has done for many, many years, and they always sell out. They're very, very popular. Right. She was part of the Frolic Cabaret as part of the Ballarat Winterfest. She performed on both nights of the cabaret show. Hugely popular, very experienced artist. She was in the original production of Hair, in the Australian production of Hair, and when they recently toured around, she actually went to their opening night in Sydney and things like that as a special guest, because she was in the original production songs at the Winterfest, and I actually cried. not going to shy away from that. Just some of those notes that she hit were just so incredible. Yeah. Well, it was very moving.
That's going to be a really privileged little night, because the Printers Room, which is where it is at,
which we all love,
is not very big, really, so you can be quite really close to such an amazing performer. That's very special.
That is
and
very
of
special.
course you're encouraging people to book ahead on where are we booking? I'm just having a look here. Well, it's easy if you go to the, I suppose, Frolic Ballarat Facebook page, and you can see any of these events.
Yes.
But you can also book tickets at frolicfestival.org, at the website. So
on our website. So we would strongly encourage everyone to do that. Some of our events, the ticket sales are really speeding up.
Yes.
We have limited capacity for, the printers room, for example, is a small venue.
Yes.
We don't want people to be uncomfortable. And so we're going to start.
You would turn people away.
We will. We had to at Winterfest, unfortunately, turn people away. We don't want to do that this year. So jump online, get your tickets, because otherwise you may miss out.
Oh, it's so exciting. You're going to really collapse at the end of this, aren't you?
I took Monday off work, I will tell you. I actually worked today as well as doing everything else.
Goodness.
And it's been pretty crazy, but I think we will be. The last event that we actually have, that we put in sort of at the last minute, is really just come and relax and have a beer.
Queer beers in the laneway.
Yep. At the George Hotel. Come have a beer. We're not going to have any performers. There's no cover charge.
Chat.
Just come if you want, wear whatever you want, rock up, have a drink. We will be all very exhausted by that time.
Are you sort of winding us up at the minute, Lynden? I just wanted to ask about the art show again, which is the opening of the art show is tomorrow night.
Yes.
And I think, is there prizes as well for the art show?
There is. So we have two prizes. We have the popular vote, so the audience choice on the night, and we also have the committee's choice as well.
So I remember last time you were on the show, or whoever we had on the show last, you were just getting entries in for that art show, but you've had a massive amount of entries, haven't you?
We have had a massive amount of entries. There's going to be a lot of art, and this new space at the George that they've got in the atrium, they've put in a professional hanging system, which is great. We'd encourage anybody who's a local artist thinking about displaying art and wanting somewhere to show it to consider the George.
Well, I think they're launching that space in a couple of weeks. I saw something pop up on Facebook this afternoon.
Is it downstairs?
It is downstairs, so it's actually outside. The great thing about it, it's in the atrium, so it's fantastic light. They've painted all of the walls white. They've also got these sort of recesses where if you've got three-dimensional pieces...
I was just going to ask you about that.
Yeah.
Did you get some 3D work in your art show?
So I am not part of the art show working group, which is a group of local artists who have formed that. That's one of the subcommittees we talked about before. So I haven't actually seen the art, but I've heard all about it. And I think it's going to be a packed...
sounds like it.
And they've even said to us that we could take some other space downstairs as well if we needed to sort of stretch over, which is right next to the atrium. But it's going to be fantastic. And the quality of the art every year is fantastic because Ballarat has fantastic artists.
Indeed.
It really does.
We all know this.
Yes.
We all know this.
Well, isn't it interesting that the George are responding to that as well?
Yeah,
that
100%.
this new space is opening because they can see that. So good on them.
And we were talking to the George and they were very clear that for them they've been so community-minded with us, but we've also seen it with other groups as well, where they've said, look, we don't care about the money for that. A lot of galleries where you display, you've got to pay commission and all of that stuff. I think they're looking at doing a flat fee sort of arrangement. So then, if you sell art and the money goes to the artist.
Yeah, that's
great.
Not
that's
to the
great.
gallery.
But however, it does seem that you're using the George as a venue for quite a lot of your activities. So it's both ways, isn't it, really?
Yeah, definitely. And the George is actually a rainbow sponsor of ours as well, which we appreciate.
Well, look, thanks, Jay, for coming in. And
Thank you for having me again.
So enthusiastically about what's going to be a really fun, wonderful, various festival.
Week of festivities.
So it starts tomorrow, folks, so get out and about.
Yeah, so that launch, just to remind people, is tomorrow evening from 6:30 to 8 p.m. At the George Hotel Atrium, and you'll get to see that new gallery space as well, so get along.
Please
Absolutely.
do.
Let's go to another track from Charlie Chan.
Eureka Mums is a group of Ballarat mums on a mission to ensure no local child goes without the most basic material needs. Eureka Mums works with welfare groups and maternal and child health nurses around Ballarat to identify young families who genuinely need a helping hand. If you have a cot or other baby things that you no longer need, please consider donating them so Eureka Mums can give a new family the help they need. For more information, visit eurekamums.org.
AMRAP stands for the Australian Music Radio Airplay Project. AMRAP is a community radio initiative that works with musicians and community broadcasters to get great Australian music national airplay faster. Over 900 broadcasters now use AMRAP's Air It pages to promote Australian musicians. Check them out at www.amrap.com.au.
Hello again, it's Lynden here with the Arts Program, and we're delighted to have here in the studio the gorgeous, talented, experienced, mature, all sorts of words, Dani Fry.
Oh, hello. Thanks for those kind words.
Yeah, and Dani heads up the venue, the Cabaret Club.
I do.
Which is just near the Woolshed. Is it still called the Woolshed?
No, it's the Mill Market now.
Oh, the Mill Market,
yeah,
that's right.
Yeah, on the Western Highway, inside a mini golf complex. Yeah. So it's in the most unusual of places, but it just works.
Which I think is technically Warren Heap. Is it Warren Heap?
It is Warren Heap, yeah.
Yeah, but really, it's like 5 minutes from the CBD.
Yeah,
pretty much.
Yeah, you feel like you're halfway to Melbourne, but it's so fast. I drove there every day from near the lake, and I'm there in 10 minutes.
And when I first went into your venue, the Cabaret Club, which was a while ago, it's just, you don't expect it.
No.
You walk in and it's actually, have you ever been there, Paul?
I have, yes.
It's quite a big space with a stage and you've done gorgeous things
cute
with
little
lighting
theaterette and beautiful red curtain, lots of lighting changes, more to come as well. It just makes sense, and it's a great space, very versatile. And
fairly quickly after you'd taken that over, you decided that it actually suited cabaret as the style.
I did. Well, for the first year, it's our second birthday next week.
Oh.
2 years I've been at the club now. Thank you. And for that first year, I did a lot of what I knew best, and that was to put on musical events. But very quickly that segued into more theatrical style things, comedy, cabaret, and now I'm doing a mixture. So it's an excellent list of things and a great variety of stuff too.
And I suppose because of the stage, it really suits itself to cabaret and a variety like that.
That's right.
Doesn't it?
Yeah, and more recent, we have been doing exactly variety shows, and we get to use that great curtain and open and close, and
curtains are fun.
Yeah, they're so good, and create these different scenes and use in front of the curtain and use behind the curtain. It's just a little space that we don't see a space like that in Ballarat much, do we?
No, not really.
Yeah.
And being a performer yourself, Dani, and obviously you're managing this space and managing the club, but when you see other performers out there, are you often thinking, I know you still perform a lot, but are you often thinking, I wish that was me?
I actually don't get to perform much anymore. I've got my 60s band, Vonda Boys and the Falsettos. I still dabble in a bit of teaching 1 day a week. I was teaching 10 hours a day full time, 5-6 days a week, and pulled right back from that to get into events. But I don't get a lot of time to perform. I binge sing these days, which,
So at special events like White Night or something like that?
Or once a week when I go to school and sing all day long for 8 hours and then go, oh, gee, that's a bit sore on the throat. Because I do nothing all week long, and then I might do my 3 hour 60s show. And I'll feel it, that's for sure. But I wish I could perform more. But to answer your question, actually, I did throw an event, because I'm producing these cabaret shows now, these variety nights that we put on there. I produce them, I'll put the lineup together and come up with the idea, tally all of the acts together, talk to them about what they should perform and what works. We we sort of collaborate there. And I put on this, which one was it? I think it was our first variety drag night that we had out there, because we've started doing those. And it was around the time that Doris Day passed away. And at the very last minute, I thought, I need to do a Doris Day tribute in this show. I just have to. So I said, Vonda Boys, which is my 60s character. At the very last minute, I went and popped myself on the lineup as Vonda Boys so that I could sing a Doris Day number.
What number did you sing?
Secret Love. Yeah, and with a beautiful slideshow presentation, because it's a big screen. It's also a cinema, a little movie cinema there. Right. So there's a screen that comes down, and so we had a Doris Day tribute happening on the screen while I stood by and sang, as Vonda. So I've only performed on that stage a few times though in the 2 years. Yeah.
And as a venue, do you still have tables around?
Yes. Yeah, we seat about 80.
Yeah.
Yeah, and our capacity is 150. So
how long has it been there, that club?
The complex was built about 13 years ago, the mini golf complex, and originally that was the arcade. It's tiered, so there's 2 levels. And he had the owner had the arcade in there.
Like pinball machines.
Yeah, that kind of thing. Right. And then he's a cabaret singer himself, really very good singer, Wade Johnson, who's the owner out there. And he built this little venue, this little cabaret club. Now,
obviously with a view to showing some movies as well at some stage.
The screen only went in recently because there was interest, I guess, and we've had a couple of film screenings out there as well. So we just put that in because there was interest for that. But the club in itself, I want to say less than 10 years, probably, 5, no longer, 8 maybe. Yeah, but not really used a lot. Not as much as it was now anyway. So, so he, the owner approached me and said, come and look at this room and see if you can do something with this. So got some aesthetic changes and, made things happen. And now it's, there's great events on most weekends.
Yeah, and you've got Rick Price on Friday night.
This is Rick's return to the club. He's played there before. So that's great to have him back again. We've had Grace Knight play out there. Johnny Diesel. That's one of my favourite stories because Johnny Diesel helped me pack up the remote control boats at the end of the night because we've got these boats that you play. You put $2 coin in and you drive them on the water and they had to be packed away. And I thought, oh, gee, the boats. I nearly forgot and went out and he's like, oh, can I help? So, it was hilarious. Here I am packing up these boats he said this is the strangest end of gig I think I've ever had, but he loved the space.
Packing up some boats.
Yeah, it's the artists are loving it. Mick Thomas has been out there a couple of times. Lloyd Spiegel's, he played and he's coming back in the new year as well to launch another CD. So it's great and it's a little hidden gem. The people that come, our regulars, feel like it's their little secret spot. I've told everyone now about it, but it's a really lovely little spot. Yeah, and we run a courtesy bus too. So for people that feel like it is,
important.
A million miles away, I just run a free bus that picks people up from the CBD and gets them back there after.
Yeah, and how do people find out about that? I suppose when they book, they can find it.
On all of my events on our Facebook page, I always add the details if the bus is running. I do it on the ticket side. I do it on our website. So in most events, we have the bus running.
Great.
Yeah.
And tell us about Salty Dog. Who are they?
They're a local amazing blues band. They've been around for ages. Marion Turner and Steve Platter, and they've got Roger Knight coming in on drums. It's their CD launch, so long-awaited new CD for Salty Dog. So that's the launch coming up in a couple of weeks. So Rick Price this Friday night, and then Salty Dog on the 16th, I think it is. And this they're being supported by this amazing band that I just saw play recently at the club at one of our vet music program afternoons. We've had a couple of vet music festivals there now, and this young band from Mount Clear came in and played and blew my mind. Right. They're called Cold Feet Trio. Check them out. They're really talented. very amazing musicians. So I sort of said to Salty, okay, let's get this band on board, and so they're going to support on that night as well.
Well, that's fantastic to give like a really young band a go, isn't
look,
it?
you know me too, Lynden, and with all of the teaching that I've done over the years, I thrive on making sure the kids are getting a go. And
you do.
And I really love that, and that's something I'm really pleased to also be doing at the club, having those high school nights.
So you still do that?
Yeah, of course.
Oh,
yeah,
brilliant.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's really fun. And you also you've had Luke Tonkin and Sophie Levitanis do The
Price is Wrong.
The Price is Wrong. Are they still doing that?
Oh, yeah. So that's a show that I produce as well that started years ago. We were doing that down at Sutton's, and then we moved. We needed a new home, of course, so we moved when I opened and started up the club. We decided to move the set and everything out there as well, and that's now the home of The Price is Wrong. We do get in the trailer and go off and visit places as well and take the show on the road. That's hilarious when we do that. We've done that a few times now, but the Price is Wrong home is now at the club, and we do shows about every 2-3 months. And it works in the venue so well.
I can just imagine. Yeah.
It really does, and it sells out very fast. You've got to get in quick for that. We do private bookings for that as well, and we've got about 4 game show nights to do between now and the end of the year, with private bookings and 2 Christmas shows to the public that have almost sold out.
What happens
really
in the
popular.
Christmas shows?
Well, it's just a little more trivia. Trivia might be a bit more Christmassy themed. Some of the music might be more Christmas themed. Some of the games that they play on stage, they just got a little bit more of a Christmas edge on them.
So the Christmas show is Luke and Sophie.
It's The Price is Wrong. They're Christmas nights where they'll be in crazy Christmas costumes and we just put a bit of a Christmas lilt on the night.
Oh, yeah. And now when people come along, they can play this sort of luminous mini golf. Is that right?
Yeah. It's crazy, I know.
Yeah.
It's true. Well, the mini golf is open more during the day. It's not open a lot at night, but you can look, you can hold an event at the club where you could say, I want to have my party there, and then that's just an extra that you can get on top of your party, where you've also got access to 2 18-hole themed mini golf courses.
And one's inside and one's outside, isn't it?
Yeah, fully licensed as well.
Yeah.
So that's great. And a week ago for Halloween, we put on our second Fright Night show, which was a variety night with, what did we have? We had musicians, we had some comedy acts, we had a freak from Tasmania.
A freak?
Yeah, amazing lineup. And then in the the Empire of Sin, Burlesque Girls, it was a great show. And at interval, the guests could walk through the indoor mini golf course, which we'd turn into a haunted house. So really darken the lights, heaps of smoke, very scary sound effects, and live zombies hiding in the corners, and so it was a really great extra onto that night.
So you obviously spend a lot of time finding acts and sorting out, producing shows. Are you enjoying doing that?
Yeah, I am.
Yeah.
And I'm lucky over the years. I've made a lot of contacts, and I'm lucky that a lot of people will come to me now too, looking for the show. So I don't have to be out sourcing too much. I'm pretty lucky like that. Yeah.
And have you found it difficult being that tiny weeny bit out of town? Has that been a problem, or you've just built up your own momentum?
No, I don't think it was. A lot of people in the beginning, it's too far away, it's not going to work.
Yeah.
But we get sellout shows. The proof, I think it was
just a nervousness of something going out of the CBD. It's like,
Yeah. There was certainly a stigma with that, but I guess the numbers are the proof there. We get the crowds, we get the acts, and people come. So it hasn't really.
And you can
been too concerning for me.
And usually when there's a show on, do you serve little bits of food?
Yeah, we sure do. Yeah, great menu.
Yeah?
Yeah, we sure do.
Music, food, wine. What could be better?
What could be better?
Yeah.
Jokes.
What a great combination.
Yeah, singing.
Yeah. Hey, have you talked about the... sorry, I had to leave the studio for a minute, but I think people can hear me opening and closing the door, actually. Have you talked about the Christmas variety show and what's happening with that?
A little bit.
We talked a little bit about the Price is Wrong show, and that'll continue into the new year. But we've now got this amazing queen from Melbourne called Sasha Starr, who does some spots in other rooms around town as well. She is hilarious, and she hosts our what we call variety nights, and they're variety drag nights, and they are just about one of the funniest nights out that you could ever see. And we have a combination of local queens and Melbourne queens, and the one coming up almost sold out. There's two. We had to open a second show. The first one sold out in about 2 days. We opened the second show and it's almost sold out as well. But we had Sexy Gillespie, who is this incredible drag king. I don't know if you've heard of Sexy, but oh my God, she was so funny. So she's back. Sasha's back, and then Luke and Sophie get involved in those as well. They are seriously a fantastic comic duo, those two. They are
sense of timing.
They are so funny.
I suppose they've been working together for a long time, haven't they?
Yep.
Yeah. So they kind of know each other, and that sort of helps.
They really have. How good though is it that cabaret and variety is so a thing in this town at the moment?
Yeah, it's great, isn't it?
It's so good. So many venues are doing it, and I just love that. I think it's great.
Yeah, and there was a bit of a grumble, was it this year or last year or something, when there was a change to the Cabaret Festival or something. But, you know, I don't... I think cabaret happens a lot in Ballarat in general. And
you just got to find it, look for it.
Yeah, so it's happening in and of itself.
You've got to listen to the arts program so that you know what's coming up.
You do.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's right. And, Dani, how do people find out about what's on at your joint?
thecabaretclub.com.au is our website. Our Facebook page is the Cabaret Club Ballarat. So they're the best places to see what's going on. I make sure that they're up to date. If the show's booked, then it's online.
And it's always probably it sounds like it's the best idea to always book as opposed to turning up.
So we reserve tables for people that want to dine before the show. We only reserve tables in that instance. So
that want to what before the
dine
show?
Before the show.
I thought you said die.
Some might have like that at our Halloween one last week. You should have heard the screams coming out of the haunted house. So hilarious.
So it would have been funny.
So we reserve tables for people that want to dine before the show, and so people want a table, and so they book in fast. So the room does fill up very quickly.
Yeah. And it just sounds like a really fun, slightly different venue.
Yeah,
because there's a bit of variety with what's going on in the venue.
There absolutely is.
And there's lovely, especially with summer coming up, there's people can go outside, and there's sort of outside places where they can stand as well as being inside.
Yeah.
And there's heaps of parking
and of course the courtesy bus, which is a great thing as well. So getting from here in town, just out there, just 5 minutes out of town.
Yeah, that's right.
And then back into town again after the show. It's good.
That's right. Yeah. And are you performing in the next couple of months?
No.
Oh,
I don't have anything booked in.
No,
I'm too busy.
Boys or too busy?
No, the next one, the boys' show, we're playing at the Grape Escape in Mount Gambier, I think it is. It must be a wine fest. That's not until May next year or something. I think we play only a few shows a year. I'm just doing a bit of catching up, fun singing with friends over a glass of wine at the moment to make sure that I'm not binge drinking too much. Binge singing, I mean.
Well, that's great. So just refresh everybody's memory about what's coming up.
Okay, so Rick Price this Friday night.
And I don't know Rick Price, so tell us what he does.
Oh, he was huge in the 90s. Yeah, beautiful long locks.
That's when I turned the radio off for a decade.
He did, that's right.
He
the
sang
long
Only
hair.
Heaven Knows, and he is an outstanding vocalist. It's just him and his guitar, and oh my God, amazing.
Only heaven knows. That's I've heard of that.
Yeah, it was very big at the time.
Yeah. Not a day goes by. Remember that song?
Maybe.
He sang that one as well. There were a couple of his big. He's doing a classic hits show. So.
When's he on?
This Friday night.
Lots of things
and
happening.
then nothing Saturday night. That's usually our show night, but nothing this Saturday night. I think I'm going to head down to the Frolic Festival to the Querioki night down there. Check that out, I think. Salty Dog following weekend. That's November 16. The Salty Dog and Cold Feet Trio. Check out those kids. They're amazing. Then we move into our Christmas events. So we've got our drag Christmas show December 6 and 7. And then we've got our Prices Wrong Christmas shows. They're on December 13 and 14.
I can't believe we're talking about Christmas shows.
Oh,
I really can't.
Well,
yeah.
Gallop, gallop, gallop.
Indeed.
Yeah. Well, Dani, that's very exciting.
Thank you.
Yeah. So you're not open sort of Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday type nights. You're mostly a weekend.
No. The club we're just doing ticketed events, and we do them usually on Saturday nights and sometimes on Fridays.
Yeah. All right. Cool. Well, get down there, folks. The Cabaret Club. Check it out on Facebook and the web page, and book.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a must.
Because Dani knows how to get fantastic acts.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And thanks so much for coming on the show. You're
It's a
a little
pleasure.
bit elusive. We're glad when you can come on.
Thank you.
All right. So that's Dani Fry. Let's go to track number 2 from Charlie Chan. This is called Desert.
Hi, I'm Rob Gray. What you hear on community radio is governed by the Community Radio Codes of Practice. The Codes of Practice cover matters relating to program content, including local content, news, current affairs, Australian music content, programs for children, and the responsibilities associated with broadcasting to the community. The codes also cover aspects such as community access and participation in the operation of this service. Copies of the codes are available by contacting the station or by visiting our website at www.voicefm.com.au. At Voice FM, we encourage listener participation and we welcome your feedback by visiting the website or contacting the station.
Here at Voice FM, we need a bit of feedback to, give us an idea of how we're operating. So we went down the street to find out what people are saying about Neil Steinman on The Breakfast Show.
Very cool, rather professional.
I love waking up to Neil in the morning.
What a great guy.
Beautiful person.
Hello, Neil. I think you're great.
I'm very satisfied anyway.
I enjoy listening to Neil Steinman on 999.
I think he's a very nice man.
Yes, he can sit at my table anytime.
He's our man, Neil Steinman, with The Breakfast Show every weekday morning from 7 o'clock right here on Voice FM.
And you're listening to the Arts Program with Pod and me, Lynden. And Pod's got new glasses. Pod.
I have, yeah. I'm glad you noticed.
They're orange and they match the microphone.
Oh,
yeah, very
lovely.
nice. Special for Wednesday nights.
Thank you.
Yeah. We have our final guest in the studio, and it's someone very special, and we're very privileged to have you, Scotty Wright.
Good evening, Lynden.
Good evening.
Pod.
Good evening.
And good evening, Rex.
Yes, good evening, Rex, if you are there. Yes.
Apparently he is there.
Is he? Excellent. Rex Hardware, folks, is the person who has been for the last few weeks recording our show and putting it up as a podcast.
Yeah,
so
it's great. We're loving that.
we are loving that, because even though Pod's name is Pod, she couldn't work out how to do a podcast.
Terrible, isn't it?
And I couldn't either.
Letting the side down terribly.
Yeah. So it's fantastic, Rex. It's very helpful. But I met Scott about 30 years ago when Scott was part of Graffiti Dance.
Yeah.
That was directed by Robin Sedgwick. Robin, who now performs every now and then with Jam and Jar with Al, my husband. And Scott, you were dancing with Graffiti Dance, and you also used to wear khaki clothes and have piercings and go out into the street and do fire eating.
I did. I also used to wear my grandmother's clothes.
Did you?
I did. That was late 80s, early 90s. It was grunge. We were all into wearing our grandmother's clothes.
Did your grandmother know?
She sure did.
Did you wear the floral dresses or?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I still use them as incentive to try and lose a bit of weight to try and put them back on again.
Excellent. And then you decided that you'd like to sort of form your own theatre performing group. And ERTH, which is your group, which you still call ERTH, but at the time, ERTH stood for Environmentally Recycled Theatre. And tell us the concept behind that original idea.
So at the time that I was dancing and choreographing with graffiti, I met Sharon Kerr and one of my very good friends, Steve Howarth, was also doing a visual arts degree at was it BCAE then? Or
what was it? Yes.
Some university that
out at Mount Helen
has changed its name several times.
Yeah.
And we had kind of talked about wanting to do some things together. And I think it was the Christmas New Year of 89-90 that I went down to the East Gippsland forests and
chained yourself to a tree.
Climbed a tree actually and refused to get down, and then went to jail and joined a group of people on a hunger strike. And at the conclusion of that, I came back to Ballarat, met with Steve, and we decided we would start a company. Originally we were going to call it Grub. But as young artists and activists, I can't remember how environmentally recycled theatre came up, but it seemed like a good acronym when we turned it to ERTH. And then we realised that we were wasting syllables, so we just took ERTH. Sounds kind of cool.
Yeah.
And for about 3.5 years, all we ever did in Ballarat was told everybody how bad they were.
You can do better. Yeah.
Well, you know, as an activist in Ballarat in the early 90s, there was plenty of things to point the finger at, but and as young, excitable, you know, energetic, passionate people, we just couldn't stop. And we kind of did. I think we're just one of those companies that everything we did sort of was on this snowball, and we eventually got to the point where we knew we couldn't stay in Ballarat.
And so you moved to Sydney.
Moved to Sydney because we thought that moving to Melbourne wasn't enough of a challenge.
And you had a funny story about what happened to your fridge. Didn't the fridge on the journey fall off the back of the ute or something?
No. We, Sharon and I had a car accident and lost nearly everything.
Oh, on the way to Sydney?
On the way to Sydney with a show, and we had to rebuild the show once we got there.
Oh.
Sydney
nice
Festival.
challenge for you.
It was good.
Yeah.
You know, like, I think moving to Melbourne wasn't, it was just like moving down the road. I already had spent, you know, every other weekend in Melbourne since I was 16.
So you wanted to go somewhere a bit foreign to you, where you had to really
reassess who it was that we were and what we did. And, you know, we got, you know, our first gig was Sydney Festival, which then led to great many things, including touring with Jimmy Barnes and his kids around Australia and making shows in the botanical gardens, and we just sort of we just continued to snowball.
So for people that aren't familiar with your work, you were doing physical theatre, but were you also making puppets and doing puppetry as well as part of your...
So we were combining visual and physical theatre, and it seemed like we needed the physical to drive the visuals and the visuals to drive the physical, and you know, it's strange when people start to need to put art forms in a box. You know, it happens, and once you do that, then it sort of sticks with you. And I just like to think that we just do whatever we want.
Yeah, that's a nice kind of liberating way of thinking about it, isn't it? It's like when we were talking to Mieke earlier in the show, and she was a teacher and then decided that she loved photography. So she's a photographer. Like there's, nothing to stop her from exploring her photography. I love that philosophy.
Being a bobsled person in between.
Yeah.
I've forgotten what I was going to say.
Can I just say that the 3.5 years, like the 1990, 91, 93, when ERTH was here in Ballarat, it was a real booming time for arts in general, and we really sort of sat within a hub of youth arts. There were a lot of really great bands. There was a lot of really, you had the Ballarat Contemporary Art Group, Stephen Sedgwick, and heaps of people, Sue Sedgwick, and there was just.
Well, there was still Barnstorm Theatre.
And there was Barnstorm, there was
and
graffiti. Bridge Pauline, Camp Hotel, Fat Thing, Dead Salesman. Like, it was booming, and like for that time, we were just having a fantastic. We were doing really well and enjoying ourselves, and just living the life of young, reckless artists. And I'm really encouraged coming back to Ballarat now and just seeing this renaissance that's sort of come through maybe in the last, dare I say, 4 or 5 years.
Yes, I think it has been that.
That a huge weight has been lifted off people's shoulders, and it feels like people are kind of able to go out and enjoy the sunshine and embrace the arts again.
Do you think there's been some kind of extra permission or something for people to enjoy the arts again, like artists themselves and perhaps the public? Or
I think, dare I say that part of Ballarat's conservatism has come with holding onto a very dark secret, which came through because of the inquiry and everything, and that we see, is now blazoned all over the church fence with the ribbons and everything. That now that is out in the open, and now that people can talk about it and heal from it, that has kind of given new life.
And I think also the Indigenous participation within the community has really changed in that time as well.
Oh, absolutely.
Artistically, but also at other levels. They've just got a new health centre, and there's just much more of an Indigenous presence. And so I think that's just when you were using your hands, Scott, to explain the opening. I think for me that's happened as well. And I hadn't really put that together until just then. Yeah. So there is a bit of an opening, and at the moment, as Pod and I are well aware, doing this show weekly, there's heaps of things that people can get involved in.
Indeed.
A wide range of activities. Like this Friday night, there are, I could probably list off at least 6 things that are happening, and there's
that
more.
You want to go to.
They're only the things I know of.
And even, I suppose for visual artists, as we mentioned before, like there is a new gallery opening in Ballarat just this week in the atrium at the George Hotel. And Jay was saying just before that they've actually put up a hanging system for, 2D art in the centre of the hotel there, which is great. So, yeah, lots of interesting things happen. Lots of people, all sorts of different parts of the community getting involved in the arts, I suppose, which is great to see. Which is something we've been banging on about for a while.
But there's kids things as well, like the kids, recent Ballarat Kids Arts Prize has so many entries, and all of that's happening as well. So it's terrific.
Yeah. I'd almost consider. No, I wouldn't.
Moving back.
Well,
the thing is that thanks to the internet, as an artist, you can exist anywhere in the world now.
Yeah.
All I need is an airport.
Yeah. Well, the other thing that's happened, I suppose, since we were last on the show, is that Ballarat has been named as a UNESCO creative city as well. So we've joined that network as well. Just in the last week, that was announced. So. Ballarat is the UNESCO City of Folk Art and Craft, I think is the title. I'm not exactly sure, but it's great to be part of that sort of international kind of network as well, I think.
Yeah. And it'd be nice to see Ballarat embracing sort of maybe the more avant-garde or the more experimental art, that we could see an arts festival, I wouldn't say of the dark mofo ilk, but, that's now very accessible and a very desirable thing within the mainstream. As you were saying in the previous interview, the rise of cabaret, the rise of drag queens, and the Spiegel tents and everything. That it's all kind of fresh and new for Ballarat.
I'm still waiting for the really avant-garde sort of things to happen, but I think the way that they do happen is organic. It's I think that will come, like really, really unusual stuff that just knocks you for six. Partly because there's such a variety of spaces in Ballarat and spaces and places to perform. And about 10 years ago, I think the performing arts community used to grumble, there aren't enough performing spaces, grumble, But actually, you create your own performing spaces. And I think that's a little bit what's happened. You could do a performance in the printer's room. It'd just be a different type of performance from what you do in a different.
I think you've just got to remember that you don't wait around and ask permission, I suppose, to sort of necessarily do something. I think that's what you were kind of.
I think we just reached that point where. Whether we asked for permission or not, we would not be allowed to, I think one of the turning points for us in Ballarat was some of the representatives of the Australia Council came and they met the City Council at the Town Hall, and then we were asked to sort of create something for the walk from there to the restaurant. And we all showed up half naked, covered in mud, and set fire to everything. And the word came back to us was that from all of the out-of-towners, they thought it was incredible. But for everyone from in town, just said, I will never work in this town again.
What gumption.
So we left.
Now tell us, back to Earth a little bit, Scott, because you've travelled around the world heaps of times with Earth, and primarily with your dinosaur show?
So we always said that we would never go anywhere unless we were invited. And it took a long time to get to some places. We just did our first Edinburgh Fringe Festival, and we took our show Dinosaur Zoo, which...
Oh, you just recently did your first...
Yeah, I just
performed... Back in August?
Yeah, every day for the month of August. Sold out, had a great time. But, Dinosaur Zoo has been a kind of a beautiful accident for the company, in that when we started sort of identifying museums as places that we wanted to work in, someone just happened to ask if we would consider making dinosaurs. And in 1999, there were no people inside dinosaurs in the world. Well, there might have been, but I didn't know about them.
Yes.
And that just sort of, that has also snowballed to the point now where we have a show currently. We've just had a show finish 4 months in the Smithsonian in Washington, D.C. We have a prehistoric aquarium that's now touring America until September next year. Dinosaur Zoo is off to Japan, China, UK.
So tell us a little bit about Dinosaur Zoo. How does it actually work?
It's just it started as a street show. It was one of the first times I've spoken on stage. And it was just sort of having had a great many friends who were showmen and street performers. Lindy Hume, actually, from the Perth Festival, invited us over and said, could you come bring some of your dinosaurs with you? And we went, oh, no, not really. And she said, go on, just do something crazy. And we went, okay. And so on the steps of the Perth, the West Australian Museum, we invented this thing called ERTH's Dinosaur Petting Zoo. And it was crazy. We were throwing raw meat and lubricant all over the place. We went to the sex shops and bought tubes of lubricant and put it in the mouths of our dinosaurs so that as they flung their heads around, there was saliva going all over the place.
But when Scott refers to his dinosaurs, they are superbly created puppets. Did you call them puppets?
They're all puppets.
And they're life size, as I understand it, as to each dinosaur that you're working with. Is that right?
Yeah, we build them accurately, and we did some work together at the Melbourne Zoo this year, and I think the thing that we find with dinosaurs is that they are a really great gateway to a great many conversations. So, yes, there are people out there that are presenting dinosaurs simply to make coin, but I think that they are a gateway to conversations about conservation, conversations around language, conversations around natural history. They are a way for grown-ups to engage with children and children to engage with adults. They teach us science, they teach us, so many things. And I think that a lot of people, it's a missed opportunity. And so being able to work with Lynden at the Melbourne Zoo, we were able to bring some of the stuff that you developed and created as a dancer into the work that we were doing, and those opportunities to sort of bring those things together, I think, are really important.
Well, dinosaurs are those creatures that just never go out of fashion with young kids, especially young boys. They just always
no, girls are right on top
dinosaurs.
of it. It's. I think the gender balance is definitely increasing. Women in science is one of the things that we actually are very, very, very sort of determined to contribute to. We're at the moment we're going into rehearsals to turn our prehistoric aquarium into an all-female cast and crew, and it will be performed in Sydney in January, and then it goes to the Middle East. And like young women in the Middle East being encouraged to embrace science.
Fantastic.
And it's translated into Arabic, and the script development is all begins with the focus on Mary Anning, who discovered, the first fossilized ichthyosaur, and the first full fossilised remains of plesiosaurs, and yet at that time she was in a world that was dominated by men, and all of her discoveries and all of her thoughts and theories and hypotheses were kind of disregarded until after she passed away. But she was amazing, and so go girls.
So if you think back to your early years as a creator and art student and what have you, did you see yourself as being this dinosaur creator and dinosaur artist?
To be honest, I'm surprised I'm still alive.
So was it one of those things you just thought, let's experiment with dinosaurs, and it's just kind of taken off and become,
it's we do whatever we want, and there's maybe a little bit of a sometimes there's a bit of an agenda where if we're invited to consider a new project, we'll always look at either the natural history, the indigenous folklore, or the kind of urban mythology around a concept. But I think for me, in the mid to late 70s, the two biggest influences were Star Wars and David Attenborough's Life on Earth.
Yeah.
Put those two together and bing, you've got my career.
Yeah. Well,
that's why I'm laughing.
And, I suppose somebody like David Attenborough too. I mean, I was watching one of his programs recently, and that show is just beautiful. Like the photography in that program is just quite superb, isn't it?
It's sort of interesting to see some of the backstory about some of those programs, though, too. Like, it's all those documentaries didn't happen just as you see them. There was various setups and things like that.
But the one I saw recently was a shark, trying to eat some sort of bird or albatross or something on the, out on the ocean. You think, well, you can't really set that up. I wouldn't have thought.
Well, they could. They could catch the albatross and put it there.
You burst that bubble.
And they did do that sort of thing. But Scott, you know, when in your younger days before you moved to Sydney, you know, one thing you were really interested in was, you know, breaking traditions and surprising people, and you know, being a bit out there in a sort of fun but wicked way with your artwork. Do you? Where is that element still there with your artistic mind of challenging the
Disruption.
status quo? Yeah.
Yeah, I think that, you know, sometimes I think disruption is like my middle name. I'm not out. I don't broadcast that, but you know, I certainly enjoy the challenge.
So is that where? Would you create a little idea where you weren't invited to do something that might be thinking to yourself, well, that's going to push my boundaries a bit?
If you looked at, say, the work that we did for Vivid recently over the last 2 years, we built we were invited to do a commission for the Barangaroo Delivery Authority, and they gave us a 3-page brief on what they wanted to be contained within that commission. And there are only 2 lines in there that was of any appeal to me, and that was the First Nations people of the Sydney area prior to settlement and the natural environment prior to settlement. And so we threw the rest of it away and said, we want to build an acknowledgement to all the women.
Oh, this was your beautiful woman.
Of the Eora Nation, and acknowledge them every night of Vivid. And Vivid went, we don't like performers, they cost too much money, could it just be a projector and we just turn it on? And that was, again, we went, no, we can't. There has to be this. And we...
and explain to the people what you did create, because it was just beautiful.
So we created a female figure called Murray Jin, which in Gadigal language means great woman. And she was puppeteered by women, by First Nations women and non-Indigenous women. And this year we worked with over 600 school children around Sydney and invited them all down on different nights to come and become a school of fish that at that time of the year would be the time that people would come from inland to the coast, because there was mullet in the harbour, and there was food in the ocean, and food in the, you know, there was abundance, and the climate was warmer. So children kind of got to participate with Murray Jin as this beautiful kind of glowing school of fish of mullet and carp. Oh no! We made Murray. We slipped a couple of Murray cod in there as well.
Yes, good.
And 40 or 50 children every night would show up, and we would perform an acknowledgement of country, a very private acknowledgement to country with them that was not public. And they would then work with some of our Indigenous friends, Indigenous artists,
and this figure was a very, very tall female.
6 metres tall.
Female, 6 metres.
And she would be active for about 3 to 4 hours a night.
Yeah, amazing.
Amazing, really cool, and we love her. We love her so much.
Now, Scott, I'm terribly sorry to say, but we've come to the end of our time.
Oh.
There's so much we could talk with you about.
Indeed. Where are you going next?
Tonight I'm going back to Macedon to work with my friend Blizz on a new...
what are you doing?
On a concept where we're animals on the verge of extinction that children lead adults to discover.
Ah, great.
So it's a show for adults performed by children.
Yeah.
And it's about creating profound moments. So
beautiful.
A few tears, but also a few moments of joy.
And that sounds like a really special project that you're doing it for the love in a way, aren't you? You're doing it for the type of project that
there's no
is.
funding attached to it.
No.
We're just doing it because we can.
Yeah. And with your old friend.
And we do whatever we want.
Yeah. Fantastic. Well, they're wonderful, wise words to leave.
Indeed.
That that has been Scott Wright from ERTH, Visual and Physical Theatre. You've been listening to the arts program with me, Lynden, and over there Pod, who's nodding. So come back again next week, same time, 6 o'clock on a Wednesday night, and for more of what's going on in the artsy-fartsy, dynamic, interesting Ballarat.
Indeed.
I'll see if I can play my music. If I can't, I don't know what. George will become running in for the next show.